Got reviews to catch up on. I've been really hung up on the Sunday School Saturdays videos, but since I did a reaction video to the trailer for this movie, I think it only makes sense that I do follow it up with a review. So, here's my take on Tom and Jerry, a live-action movie featuring the cat and mouse duo in their traditional hand-drawn likeness. The longtime best of frenemies meet again when Jerry makes his home in a luxurious hotel in New York City. With a big wedding scheduled to be held there, a new employee, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, hires Tom to exterminate Jerry before the day of the wedding, and some good old slapstick wars break out between the two. Sometimes, anyway. Now, I love the Tom and Jerry cartoon. The flawlessly timed slapstick, the hilarious expressions and sound effects. It's been a favorite of mine ever since my brother and I first discovered it when it was playing on TVs at Red Robin. During school days at home, our mom would give us a 1-hour break to watch the show on Cartoon Network, and we made quite a few great memories guffawing like hyenas at it. In recent decades, though, all they've had is just 70 or so minute movies populated by too much dialogue and only brief moments of slapstick here and there. So for quite a while, I've been wanting to see Tom and Jerry really shine again. And when this movie was announced, I thought, could this be that time? The director is Tim Story, known for the Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s, as well as Ride Along 1 and 2, none of which I've liked. The thing that makes this movie a little better than those is that it does seem like he and writer Kevin Costello studied up on Tom and Jerry themselves. This movie does get these two characters and their dynamic, and the slapstick is actually pretty well done. The way they managed to use animated characters interacting with real objects while replicating the timing and impact of the slapstick of the cartoon show, I thought was pretty impressive, even if sometimes Tom and Jerry look more like balloons than cartoons. The movie comes up with some of its own ways of having Tom getting contorted, shattered, or blown to tangerines. Plus it has scenes that are apparent homages to some of the cartoon shorts like the flying cat and designs on Jerry. And yes, there are a few utterances of and ah! The classic William Hanna screams, they are there. So it does most of the slapstick right, and that's enough to make it better than the awful 1993 Tom and Jerry movie, which was completely misfocused with next to no slapstick at all. Not to mention, it had Tom and Jerry talking normally the whole way through. In fact, that's another thing that the 2021 movie nails. It knows to minimize them using their voices, and on the occasions where they do, they use voices that are goofy or surreal coming from them. The singular such instance in this movie is when Tom plays his piano and he starts singing in the voice of T-Pain. It was probably the moment that got the biggest laugh out of me. So Tom and Jerry as characters, and the scenes where they're doing their thing beating the dickens out of each other, they worked for me. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about much else in this movie, not excluding the handling of the supporting characters from the show. The voice they give to Spike the Bulldog doesn't fit, and when he's not interacting with Tom and Jerry, he's reduced to little more than just gas and poop jokes. And Tom's alley cat friends, you know, the black one, the orange one, and the short little gray one, they talk like gangsters here for some reason. And the fact that there is much else besides Tom and Jerry is a problem in and of itself. I'll give this to Chloe Grace Moretz. She knows the kind of movie she's in, so she just has on the biggest and goofiest expressions through the whole thing. But there's so much focus on her trying to make an impression at the hotel that the titular characters end up taking a back seat. One thing that should tell you enough is that there's a post-credits scene, and Tom and Jerry aren't even in that to be the ones to give us one last chuckle before exiting the theater. I would have been satisfied if there was just a minute or two to set up each opportunity for Tom and Jerry to go at each other. That is essentially what all of the cartoon shorts were. But instead, preceding each slapstick scene is really drawn out, awkward back and forth dialogue between Chloe Grace Moretz, her boss, and her coworkers. These scenes are tedious, unfunny, and very long-winded. They extend the movie to a full 100 minutes when it would have been perfectly acceptable just over 60. If I could watch an hour of the shorts back-to-back, I could have been satisfied if that's all this movie was. The movie also has a common problem that I have with a lot of film iterations this past decade of old cartoons, including last year's Scoob. Modernization. Again and again they do this, and it's unnecessary and avoidable even if the movie's being set in present day. A hotel that's been around since the 1930s, that's a good location for a Tom and Jerry movie, but the soundtrack is overloaded with rap songs. There are these pigeons that fly over the city every once in a while to rap about what's happened in the movie so far. Even a chase around a hotel room with the cat and mouse gets marred by the ill-suited music. So in the end, this may be Tim Story's best film, but that's hardly any glowing praise. It's drawn out, with half of it being terribly unfunny, while the other half offers some clever, nostalgic cartoon violence. The movie does get what Tom and Jerry is about. I just wish that Tom and Jerry was all that the movie was about. Scoring on the Factor Facts, I'm going to give Tom and Jerry a 43%. You know what's funny? There's this fandom page that's been up for like 4.5 years now, describing a hypothetical 15th Land Before Time movie, in which the hand-drawn animated characters visit a live-action New York City, and the soundtrack is loaded with current tunes. Now, if you're familiar with my Land Before Time channel, you know that I saw that article as good material for an April Fool's Day video. But now I'm actually kind of wondering, did the author know something, but just got the franchise wrong? That's a wrap, thank you for watching, I hope you found this review helpful. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture, I'm Alex Pop.